believed you were advocating for a violent response. You've clarified that now. And people are saying, is that a sincere clarification, or have you just calmed down?
It wasn't a clarification. It was a repeat. And I stand by it. I am advocating for lawful, maybe let me clarify, ruthless violence in defense of us and our own. And if you give me 1.5 minutes, I can.
What?
Make
saying, is that a sincere clarification, or have you just calmed down?
It wasn't a clarification. It was a repeat. And I stand by it. I am advocating for lawful, maybe let me clarify, ruthless violence in defense of us and our own. And if you give me 1.5 minutes, I can make it crystal clear if we need to. What you're seeing with Charlie Kirk is what got through. Charlie Kirk lived under a cloud.
A martini, shaken, not stirred.
I hate Piers Morgan.
Hey, thank you, Bethori, for the $20. I appreciate that. Oh yeah, guys, please like the stream. You guys have the opportunity to do that right now. Thank you guys so much. If you guys would do that, I would really appreciate it. Okay, like the stream, and donate if you're able to. Okay. Just know that Streamlabs is a very does not keep your information private, okay? But you can donate via membership or super chat. But just know that membership and super chat, they take like 30% of like the total fucking amount that you donate. But you can donate on Kick instead. Kick is 95%, 95.5, right? They only take 5%, which is really awesome. And I've been trying to get verified on Kick right now. So yeah, please consider it, okay? Coffee Rain Games, thank you so much for your tier 1. I appreciate that. Moondrip, thank you for $2.
A martini, shaken, not stirred.
I hate Piers and Crowder. Both disgusting.
Thank you. True. Yeah, okay, all right.
And I stand by it. I am advocating for lawful, maybe let me clarify, ruthless violence in defense of us and our own. And if you give me 1.5 minutes, I can make it crystal clear if we need to. What you're seeing with Charlie Kirk is what got through.
I'm a guy.
What? Fuck.
Masaki, thank you so much for the 5 gifted subs, buddy. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you.
Charlie Kirk lived under.
Very kind of you, okay? Just, by the way, if you do donate on YouTube, even though I don't receive a larger cut in comparison to other sources, you do get a cool, you do get, like, a cool color on my server.
A cloud just as I have. It's the reason that I stopped doing Change My Mind.
Oh my goodness.
Jose, thank you so much for the 1 gifted member. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you.
There were 12 felonious assaults, attempts at battery, and attempts on my life, and I know quite a few, and many I don't, of Charlie Kirk. I want to be clear. I want those on the left to speak freely and to be able to.
This is the dankest dungeon.
Destiny, thank you so much for the 1 gifted membership on Kick. Thank you so much, buddy. Thank you.
Host their events with minimal security as they do now for the rest of their lives. Just as surely, I want them to be deathly terrified of showing up and acting with the increasing violence as they have at our events. And that goes both ways. Hey, if there's a spat of right-wing violence.
Okay. So what I want to see happen is for Piers Morgan here to reciprocate the same energy that he had towards Destiny, okay? I want to see Piers Morgan, like, eviscerate Steven Crowder for doing this, okay? I want to see Piers Morgan destroy Steven Crowder for saying this, okay? All right, let's see if this actually happens, okay? All right.
That's spreading across this country. Treat those people the same way that we treat yours, but you won't find it. And let me just address a couple of things here. What I think leads to violence, they'll try and blame it on Donald Trump. They'll give us a bunch of reasons. Let me be really clear here. Joe Walsh will say that this is an overreaction. He said that yesterday. He doesn't understand why this is a big deal. That's untrue. He will say that statistically more violence comes from the right. That's provably untrue. He has been stating for days that the shooter was in fact not a leftist and we didn't know. That's provably untrue. He will create a false equivalency between Charlie Kirk and the murder of the Hortmans in Minnesota. That's provably untrue. And finally, he will place blame, as the left and the spineless right does, for all of this on Donald Trump, conservatives, rising figures, and the rhetoric for temperatures in this country. That is provably untrue. Donald Trump ran on Law and Order and won because of leftist violence. All of this, let me finish with this. All of this is by design. so that the left and spineless right can make this conversation about conservatives responding to the cold-blooded terroristic assassination and gleeful celebration thereafter of a young man who did nothing more than sit down at a table and allow anyone to speak their opinion. And I know what it's like because I was in that spot. I started it, and Charlie cited it as inspiration. If I could change one thing, and I do believe that I'm partially responsible for this, I failed people. I've had to do a lot of soul searching. When I did change my mind and started in 2016, the idea was, hey, calling the left on their bluff, civil.
God, this space is so fucking fake. Like, you can tell how disingenuous, like, these people are. Like, they don't even act like real human beings. All they act like are, like, fucking blumbering, like, fucking oafs. Like, dysgenic oafs, who, like, are completely audience captured and revenue captured. It's so, like, insane.
Dialogue with anyone to the tune of billions of plays and hundreds of hours, and it got increasingly violent. And what I didn't tell people, I told people out there, go do this on your own campus, have these conversations. I advocated for it, and Charlie took it to another level. He was unbelievable at it. What I didn't do, I didn't tell people about the threats because I didn't want copycats. I didn't tell them about terrorists from Yemen through Sweden showing up in East Grand Rapids. I didn't tell them about concrete milkshakes. I didn't tell them about my tires getting slashed, about people trying to firebomb my car. And maybe if I would have picked up the phone, maybe if I would have used this megaphone to tell people.
Wait, is Piers Morgan just gonna let, like, Steven Crowder run wild with this, or is he actually going to do some pushback? Because it sounds like, because I'm not really seeing any pushback here from Piers Morgan just yet. I mean, maybe that will change, I don't know.
It's real life out there.
Like he's just letting him go off. And he literally advocated, like, he unironically advocated directly, if I may so add. Like, it's not even stochastic. He's just directly doing it. It's not even stochastic. He's just directly doing it, right? He's just saying, yeah, there should be ruthless violence in retaliation to the left, right? That's what he said. He said at first he said legal, but he corrected that. He said legal, and he corrected that and said ruthless. So he took that back. If people don't know, like, what is happening here, right? Yeah.
And the left wants you dead. Maybe Charlie would have had a fighting chance. Maybe. I could have done more. Right now, I'll tell you this. I see a lot of people out there, Piers. See a lot of people out there talking about picking up that microphone. And I hope people do, because the alternative is silence. But I want people to know that wherever that microphone is, and whoever thinks about picking it up, you are in the crosshairs. People say bring down the temperature. Okay, how about we bring down the temperature to doing something like, I don't know, sitting down at a table and allowing anyone with a thought or opinion to discuss it rationally? Would that bring down the temperature? Because they took his life anyway.
Listen, I know you knew Charlie Kirk well. I feel your passion.
What? Oh my God, give me a break. Dude, did you guys see how hard Piers went on fucking Destiny for saying the equivalent things that, like, Steven Crowder is essentially saying? That's fucking bumbling, fucking inbred, pushing 80, fucking big teeth moron is, like, doing here and doing Trump apologia. It's not even close to the same standards between the two. God, fuck me, dude. The double standards in this country has to be fixed, dude. It has to be fixed. I just don't see any other fucking way. Dude, fuck me. I don't even know why the fuck I was so reconciliatory in in the fucking server Discord voice chat today. Oh my God, I shouldn't have let them gotten away with it. But, like, dude, this is so cringe, dude. The double standards is so cringe and blatant. It's so blatant. Like, the double standards is so blatant. Pointing out the double standards is, like, not fucking enough. It's not. Pointing out the double standards is not enough. Because people have been pointing out the double standards for years. Like, yeah.
I feel your anger. I feel your hurt. It's a painful time. I think everybody on the conservative right in America, it's a very painful time. And I feel that. But in the interest of fair play, which Charlie Kirk would want, we have got the former Republican congressman and the host of The Social Contract, Joe Walsh, joining the debate.
What? Wait, you're not gonna push back against what Crowder just said there? You're just gonna introduce another fucking person? Like fucking Jeffrey Epstein if a fucking 8-year-old drew him? If, like, Jeffrey Epstein, if someone tried to draw him from memory? Is that what you're talking about? You're not gonna push back against, like, the entire time where Steven Crowder is trying to justify him saying, like, oh yeah, there is ruthless, like, the left deserves ruthless retaliation? Well, what the... Bro, dude, give me a break. Dude, this is crazy to me. I'm sorry. This is, like, actually unhinged. What? Bro.
exactly what Charlie would encourage, I think, which is, Joe, you've just heard a very impassioned statement there from Stephen Crowder. What's your response?
Oh, I get it, and I feel it, and I appreciate Stephen Crowder expressing how he feels. I really do, and I don't know what my fight is. I don't have a fight with Stephen.
Oh my god. Right, just one more disavow, guys. Remember, guys, just one more disavow. One more disavow, okay? You don't understand. Just one more disavow. Where the fuck is Silver? Where the fuck is Silver and Salty? Oh my fucking god, dude, give me a break. Dude, oh my god.
Crowder. Stephen, good to see you. There was a lot you said about me there in the intro. I don't remember because I'm getting older. I wish I'd written down some of it. I did my best for the past week because I knew Charlie as well, not to say that this guy was a right wing. He came from a God-fearing gun Utah family. He was definitely right, like some on the left did. I didn't know who he was until we had the facts and the evidence. And it's
bring them on stream now and yell at them. No, it's fucking useless, dude. Oh my god. Like, nothing will convince them at this point. Like, we've already had like fucking 50 conversations about like, oh, should we be appealing to the moderates, like, who listen to these kinds of people, like, and by disavowing the left far enough. Bro, dude, we have Stephen Crowder. If anything, again, it seems like the right just keeps on escalating. Like they just keep on escalating. They're never stopping this escalation. Like, they're just continuously escalating nonstop. Like, we have now risen to blatantly calling for retaliatory violence?
It's clear, Piers and Stephen.
Wait, has Destiny reacted to this panel yet? Oh my god, please, for the love of God, okay? If Steven has not yet watched this panel, you must do everything in your power to prevent him from seeing this panel, okay? Like, if there's anything that's gonna get Destiny to quit, it's this fucking, like, introduction to Stephen Crowder. Like, if there's anything that's gonna get him to quit.
And that this
I had
was
the facts and the evidence, and I told you he was on the left from the bullet engravings that we received from a leak, and you said we were wrong, and people on the left said we were wrong, and that matters because the shooter was still out there, and so was the Kirk family. I'm trying to save lives.
Stephen,
you just save lives, Joe?
Maybe some people did. I don't know when I ever said you were wrong anywhere. When this first time I've talked to you, or even
we don't know. We know he's from a white family in Utah, and you retweeted people, and you went out and said this guy is not a left-wing extremist. He is. Okay, go ahead. You did say that,
my friend. From the moment Charlie Kirk was assassinated, I said, we don't know who did it. And once we found out who did it, we don't know why he did it. So let's all wait to figure out why he did it.
But we did
yesterday.
Know. And I remember you saying that he sold his soul to Trump before the body was cold and criticizing his wife.
Stephen, let me finish, brother, please. And then we find out in no uncertain terms, by the way, Pierce, which I think all of us could have guessed, this was a political assassination. This 22-year-old young man hated Charlie Kirk, and so he picked up that gun and he shot him, clearly. And as you've said, Pierce, it's clear that of late...
A martini, shaken, not stirred.
You know that meme with the two guys mining for diamonds and the bottom guy walks away? That's Democrats when they stop disavowing.
True. Zach, thank you so much for the $5. Sorry about your dad, by the way.
He had become radicalized with leftist ideology. There, now we know it. This will go down in history as an act of left-wing political violence. Yes.
I mean, I would say, Stephen, that is an honest statement there from Joe. But,
it's not.
Yeah, but is it honest on your side, Stephen? Be honest. Is it honest to say there is no problem with violence on the political right? Because there has been historically a lot of violence associated with the far right in America. That, again, is just a demonstrable fact. To pretend there's never been any is to be disingenuous.
Demonstrable fact by what? No, it's not to be disingenuous.
Charlottesville? January 6th? The Pizzagate shooter? Paul Pelosi? What? Dude, that's just the 4 off the top of my fucking head.
Ingenuous. It's absolutely correct. And I understand because I've seen Joe and people of his ilk retweeting these out there. It either comes from Cato Institute or it comes from a recent Economist article. I can tell you how all of those numbers are wrong. Remember the man in Portland? Remember Aaron Danielson, who was shot dead point blank by an Antifa member? Michael Reinhold, who said, we got a Trump supporter, bang, bang, dead. That wasn't listed as political violence. Look at that chart. The year 2020, the summer of love, no political violence from the left. I could go through the methodology, and I have brilliant researchers who have. It is demonstrably untrue. No one is saying there is no violence on the right. What I am saying is that people on the right have to have armed security, flak jackets, an entire strategy when
Wait, so you're pointing to certain time frames. Of course there's going to be certain time frames in which there is like literally no fucking political violence. Like, what are you talking about? Like, what the fuck? Obviously you got to measure things in its entirety, right?
They go out and those
Like,
on
what
the
is he
left
talking
don't.
about?
That is verifiably true. What is dishonest is to say we didn't know. You know what else wouldn't have been included in these crime stats? And anyone want to make this argument? You're talking to the wrong guy. The Covenant High School shooting. Audrey Hale. Cato said we included it because it was borderline, even though the police said they didn't think it was politically motivated. If not for the...
Notice how they hung in on the one specific fucking shooting, right? They hung in on the one specific shooting. This is the transgender one, right? They hung in on the one specific transgender shooter, but they ignore all the other fucking school shooters, right? They ignore everybody else.
Undercover journalism unit of a comedy show right here. No one would have known that motivation. We found it, we leaked it, we processed it, we verified it, and we were met with resistance and threats of lawsuits from the local police department, the mayor, and the FBI. They said it was a lie on the outset, just like they said the engravings on the bullet casings were a lie on the outset. The left lies. They label you fascist. They label you a totalitarian. And how do you deal with those people? Well, you don't do it at the ballot box. We all know that.
It's not just how the news is told, but...
What? Bro, dude.
And the FBI, they said it was a lie on the outset, just like they said the engravings on the bullet casings were a lie on the outset. The left lies. They label you fascist. They label you a totalitarian. And how do you deal with those people? Well, you don't do it at the ballot box. We all know that.
Oh, okay. He's blaming the left. Okay, I thought he was trying to ascribe some kind of prescription for the right. Jesus Christ.
It's not just how the news is told, but what's left out, which concerns me.
Oh my
When a friend in the
God.
business recommended I try ground news, I gave it a go. Quite honestly, I was impressed. It does something brilliant, which most news platforms...
Okay, I just don't...
Every position that the right holds has been presented as violence, including silence, by the way. I know there's a poster behind Joe Walsh right next to his No Kings poster. In other words, if you're pro-life, it's violence against women. If you're against men and women's sports, it's violence against trans, it's genocide, it's erasing them. If you're against Juneteenth as a holiday, it's violence. You're pro-First Amendment, violence because you're inciting violence. You're pro-Second Amendment, violence because you believe people should be able to commit...
I want people to understand, just remember, if I were to refer back to Steven's game theory chart, when it comes to game theory, fuck, where's Destiny's specific way of drawing it up? Fuck me, dude. Because he drew it up in a specific way where there is a worse world than a world of violence, and that is a world where one side is committing genocide and the other one is not reciprocating that energy, right? Well, the thing is that the right wants you to believe that the Democrats and the left generally, actually genuinely want to genocide Republicans, right? They genuinely want to genocide white people, right? This is the rhetoric for years. The Great Replacement, white genocide, like this rhetoric has been going around for years. They genuinely believe and they genuinely push for the idea that the left wants white people genocided, right? Because then the only retaliation you can give for that is genocide of the other side, right? Because genocide for genocide, tit for tat, right? But the thing is that we don't live in the world where Democrats actually want to genocide the Republicans. We don't live in the world where the people on the left genuinely want to genocide white people. We don't live in that world, okay? And no amount of disavowals will ever convince them that the Great Replacement is not real. No amount of disavowals will ever convince them that the Democrats aren't trying to genocide white people. Okay, so the thing is, and the reality is that disavowals don't really work in that instance, right? Of course, because they already pushed Republicans and radicalized them enough to the point where they genuinely believe that there's a genocide incoming. Right? And they have to prepare for it, not using the ballot box, but using the Second Amendment, right? Yeah. Because when it comes to game theory, they're trying to genuinely convince their base that, like, yeah, at some point you need to vote, but voting no longer matters at some point, right? I don't know.
Gun violence. And then if we remain silent, that's also violence. And so people deal with the right with violence. Here's my challenge. Find me one example of a Charlie Kirk on the left, not an elected official. I'll allow any speaker, any comedian, this century, one example of somebody.
He drew it as a table. No, I remember that table. I have it in my head.
Who was murdered, assassinated, hemorrhaged out in front of his family in cold blood and gleefully celebrated thereafter. And the polls show that a majority, according to YouGov recently, of Democrats think it's somewhat too acceptable. 38%, 77% of Republicans said not acceptable at all.
Okay, let Joe
What I'm
respond.
saying is that Charlie Kirk was hunted. He was hunted. We are being hunted, and I don't want to see any more dead friends. Violence, absolutely. Lawful, ruthless, defensive violence.
Okay, Joe.
Hey, Piers, I'll just be brief again. The data is
Please.
pretty clear, and historically it's been pretty clear that there's political violence on the right and the left in this country for years. And I could argue, and I would argue, but I won't here, that there's historically been more political violence coming from the right. But suffice to say, I think you and I, Pierce, would agree, there's a
Please argue
history
it.
of hey, Stephen, let me finish, man, please.
Please argue it. You can't just make a
Pierce?
vague claim and not substantiate it.
Pierce, you and I would agree, for the sake of this conversation, that political violence is in fact a both sides problem. Stephen, you would acknowledge, I think, that there is political violence on, and there has been political violence on the right as well. So why don't we all just
Oh, right. Okay. So yes. Okay. Yeah. Right. Hold on.
Group as well. You can't constantly.
Right. Okay. So. Okay, I kind of want to just refer to this.
condemn it all? That's what we all should do.
Yeah,
Steve?
no, I don't. I don't agree with the premise, and I'm having to agree with a nebulous premise because you presented no facts. The very source that you cite, and by the way, I'll
Stephen?
make all of mine publicly available. Hold on, I'm finishing
Stephen?
now. Let's do it like grown-ups. You can cite your
can I ask
sources
you one
online.
question?
George Floyd riots,
Can I ask you one
not
question,
included.
Stephen?
Daryl Brooks,
Stephen, one
Waukesha,
question.
not included.
Stephen, one
Antifa, not
question.
included. Man shot dead for voting Trump, not included. Those numbers are not to be trusted, and neither is someone parroting it. I'll answer your question if you answer one of mine after. Go ahead, please.
Melissa Hortman, the Democratic state legislator in Minnesota, last 3
Right.
months ago, gunned down by an
Oh my god, I can tell whatever they're gonna say is gonna piss me off. Jesus Christ, I'm so angry. Hold on. Dude. Okay, so this is Steven's thing, okay? Just real quick. Real quick. I'm not gonna make this a thing. Okay, so the problem. So you guys already know what the problem is, right? You guys like it's very clear, right? So we. Yeah, I know I have Clip Studio. Yes, I once drew. But yeah, we want to reach here, right? Civility, right? But the problem is that the right wants their base to believe this, if that makes sense, right? So the right, this is the right rhetoric, okay? However, objectively for both of us, it seems to be here, right? This is where the Democrats want to be, if that makes sense. However, the reason why Republicans push this narrative is because they want this to happen. They want this to happen, okay? That's why they push this narrative. So the thing is that if a lot of people on the right is already doing this, like, it is better to live in a world where there's this, but not this, right? Especially when they're trying to, where they're trying to push this rhetoric, right? Now, I have people telling me, okay, but you need to appeal to the moderates. I agree with you. We do need to appeal to the moderates. But the thing is voting is the bare minimum. Voting is not the end-all be-all for all solutions. It's not. I'm sorry, it's just not. And there are lots of things that happen that is not just about voting, okay? Like, for example, what's really important is the way that rhetoric is being pushed, right? Because that affects the voting. Because there's a lot of buildup that happens before voting even happens. And then there's a lot of after effects after voting that voting cannot resolve. Cultural issues are not easily resolved by voting, okay? For example, cultural issues are not easily resolved, like cultural issues influence votes, but votes cannot easily influence cultural issues unless we have some kind of one-party system where we can manipulate propaganda or something like that, right? When it comes to moderates in this country, I am willing to take a loss of moderate votes and lose elections, even, Like, I'll even say that I might even think that it is worth losing elections over losing the moderates if it means writing that double standards. Because if you're edgy enough to push against the double standards that is happening in this country, and you're doing the moral calculation of game theory, in my opinion, we might be at an impasse to the point where that is more worth it than trying to influence moderates to go and vote. Does that make sense? Like, what I'm doing is a cost-benefit analysis. Like, I recognize that we will lose moderates, and I recognize that we might lose the elections, the next one, all right? But that will not, but winning the elections will not fix the double standards issue. Winning the election will not fix the discrepancy right now between the expectations for Democrats and the expectations for Republicans. This discrepancy is what leads to genocide. This discrepancy is what leads to them viewing us as subhuman and causing the Rwandan genocide too, okay? Calling for a culling of Democrats in the streets. This is what they want. They want a culling. They want a public culling of Democrats in the streets. This is what everyone is advocating for. This isn't even something that you need to make a conspiracy about. Steven Crowder is literally advocating for it on this fucking debate. He's literally advocating for it. This is not some mystery. This is not some conspiracy theory. Like, yeah, like, that's what I'm talking about. Okay, anyway, yeah, it's just, I don't know. Like, I don't know what else I can say, because sometimes voting is not the end-all be-all. Because voting, the thing is that the way that U.S. democracy is designed is that changes are meant to be slow. But even if we get all blue winnings down the road from here on out, even if we win nothing but blue here on out, it will not change. It will not change the double standards that exist right now. It will not. Okay? It will not. I promise. I absolutely promise. Did she mean culling? Is it culling? Culling. Whatever. I don't know. Right? So the double standards thing, pointing out the double standards and holding a mirror up to their face and even deploying the same tactics that they are using is relevant now. You have to begin that process now. You can't wait 2 years down the line after you've won the moderate vote and won the midterms to wait for that to happen. You can't. You don't have that time. You don't. Right? Yeah.
Anti-abortion
anyway.
Trump supporter, yes or no?
Wrong. How do I know? Because Vance Bolter, the man who did it, wrote in his letter that it had nothing to do with Trump or being pro-life. He blamed Tim Walz. And here's what you also don't see. Did you see anyone at the Hortman's funerals or vigils spitting on them? Or pantomiming, being shot in the neck? Did you see anyone celebrating the death of them gleefully?
Yes.
Did you see so many professors doing so, showing children?
Yes.
How would the Republican position becoming unelectable mean double standards won't change? If you win every election from here on out, do you mean the constant 51% D versus 49% Republican? Electable mean double standards won't change. If you win every election from here on out, do you mean the constant 51%? Okay, I would like to amend my statement, okay? If it is the case that because I can't say about the presidential. I'm sorry, I just can't say about the presidential election. Okay? But I'm just saying, so let me just talk about the midterms. If the midterms win blue, if the midterms manage to win blue, and it's done because you appeal to moderates or something, that's a win. That's a win, but it's a band-aid solution. It's the bare minimum to vote, but you have to look at the bigger picture, right? That's my overall point. Because yes, I can recognize, because even if a Democratic person becomes president next cycle, I don't even know if that's going to fix the discrepancy that is going on right now. I don't think so. I just legitimately do not think so. Because this is what people think right now, okay? The fucking the copers, okay? The copers. The copers are currently thinking, Okay, once we get a Democratic president in power and we have control of the government again, everything will return back to normal. Dismiss that line of thinking immediately. Immediately. What the issue that we have right now isn't just the issue of like what we can get to win in the government, right? Isn't just, oh, we need to get the government to win this and win that, right? It's also an issue of the way that normies think. And the way that normies think is they're going to hold Democratic politicians and Democrats in general to a much higher standard than their Republican counterpart. And they have severe cognitive dissonance and mental retardation when it comes to that. Okay? Yeah.
Snuff, really? Point me to one.
Yes.
Point me to one person spitting at their vigil. Let me guess, you're going to go to Mike Lee?
Senator, Utah.
Like, in order to change their minds about it, the voting part is just the tip of the iceberg. I agree that we should win elections. I agree that voting is the bare minimum, okay? All right? But the thing is that winning elections will not change the minds of these people, will not actually help them see the light, right? Yeah. Okay.
How do I predict everything you say all the time? How?
Donald Trump.
He didn't mock the attack.
Okay, let me jump in.
And until they see the light, we're just setting ourselves up for another failure down the road. We're setting ourselves for another version of Trump down the road, even if he doesn't get a third term. Okay? Does that make sense? I'm surprised you didn't cover Rob and Connor fight yesterday. Rob, sorry. Can you link me, please? Oh my God. Listen, I'm sure there's a lot of content that I want to cover, but I just don't have the opportunity. I just can't find them all, okay? So please, you need to just link me, please. Link me in the server and DM me on Discord, okay? Thank you. I appreciate that.
Stephen, let me jump in. Stephen, let me give you an example.
Piers, I don't.
Hang on.
Go ahead.
Hang on. I would give an example where the right behaved very badly, and that was over the attack on Nancy Pelosi's husband. I saw the gleeful responses after that from the right, the memes, the mockery, and so on. I thought that was very distasteful. Would you agree, Steve?
If you want to argue an equivalency between a man
I'm not asking equivalency.
Underwear,
I'm not saying equivalency.
And a man bleeding out in front of...
Oh yeah, also, I'm willing to die on this hill as well. If we cannot resolve this discrepancy, if we cannot resolve the double standards, eventually, we deserve to lose. We do. We do deserve to lose. All right? I'm sorry. If we can't resolve the double standards, we deserve to lose. Okay? That's genuinely what I believe. Because I don't want to live in a world, I would rather die than live a world where this discrepancy exists forever and ever. All right? I don't want to live in a world where this discrepancy exists.
I'm not saying they're equivocal. I'm just saying it's an example where I felt people on the right showed a complete lack of humanity towards the man who'd been attacked because he happened to be married to Nancy Pelosi, a political opponent. And so it's not like this never. It's not like this has never happened.
I don't agree. I don't think it's even remotely proportional. Let me ask a question here. This is why I'm giving this message, and this is why I hope people listen and protect their own. Joe Walsh, you're there. Since I answered your question, you're there, Utah, in the crowd. It's not a Mouser. It's not a 30-06. But it's a man winding up a milkshake for Charlie Kirk. We don't know if it's strawberry, chocolate, vanilla, acid, or concrete.
I know, Rick.
Do you stop him? Do you hurt him? That hesitation tells me that you are not amongst us. And cowards are dangerous to have in their ranks.
Stephen?
Because it's not a hypothetical. It's happened.
Let me answer your question.
Do you stop him? Do you hurt him?
I don't understand your question. I'm sorry. I honestly, I don't.
Someone winding up a milkshake to launch at Charlie Kirk. You don't know if it's strawberry, chocolate, vanilla, acid, or concrete. You see him before anyone else does. Do you stop him and hurt him?
Yes. I certainly stop him. I do all I can to stop him. Yes.
Good. There's a start. That's what I'm advocating. Every single person out there, because we have been living with this shadow over us. And I know, look, here's the thing too, Joe. I understand your rhetoric. I understand where you're coming from. And I know that you met Charlie when he was 16, as I understand it, right? He was very, very young. And I understand that maybe you were somewhat of a mentor figure. It's because of the failure of Republicans like you that me and Charlie Kirk exist, who are willing to take back the territory that has been conceded, and we are willing to pay with our lives. We shouldn't have to be. Academia, media, the press, big tech shouldn't be dominated by the left exclusively all the time. Charlie Kirk shouldn't be out there alone sitting in that chair taking on all comers. He shouldn't be inspired by people like me who are...
Okay, I don't even know what to say because obviously Steven Crowder is just completely lying completely fabricating everything, just lying out of his mouth nonstop. Okay, I'll tell you what the normie sees. I'll tell you what the moderate sees. I will tell you what the moderate sees, okay? Because lots of people say, Foodshops, you have to try to appeal to moderates. It's a good prescription to appeal to moderates. I'll tell you what they see. What they see is a weak old man completely getting demolished by this muscular, conservative guy who tells it as it is. Good luck trying to convince that moderate to vote for the left. Good luck. Because that moderate who is viewing a debate like this, what they see is a person who is completely obliterating this old man. Because they think as well that Charlie Kirk was killed by a leftist. All right? This is what they believe. Tell me that you can convince that person to vote for the left next election. Seriously. That's what the moderate sees.
Comedians. He should have been inspired by people like you. Instead, he was inspired to go the other way. Maybe that's why he said he sold his soul for...
Because it is pure copium to think that now that Steven Crowder is advocating directly for violence, oh, now moderates will wake up. Now moderates will wake up once they see Steven Crowder advocating for violence. Because this is a fact now. This is a fact now. Steven Crowder in this debate, undeniably, 100%, beyond a shadow of a doubt, is advocating directly for violence. He's advocating directly for retaliation. Beyond a shadow of a doubt. Okay? Do you think the average moderate will grade him on a curve or grade him as equivalent to the Democrats? Because I promise you, if a Democrat has said the same thing, it's fucking Jover. Okay? It's not even close. All right? And if you cannot square that in your mind, if you cannot square in your mind that it is hopeless to convince moderates that this guy is insane and this guy is actually being reasonable, I'm sorry, you have lost the plot and you're on copium, okay? You're on heavy amounts of copium that moderates are still reasonable people, because they are not. Moderates are not reasonable people right now. They are not. I'm sorry to tell you this, but Counterpoints is not the average moderate. He is not the average Republican, okay? He's just not.
For Donald Trump before the body was cold. Still want to do the no true Scotsman holier than thou thing?
And Stephen, I'm assuming you would do the same, correct? If somebody were throwing a chocolate milkshake at a left wing.
They see a blumbering old man getting obliterated by a Chad red alpha male,
Speaker,
okay?
Correct.
No, the reason I bring it up is because we didn't. We didn't,
But
and I've had them launched at me.
Would you, Stephen?
And the reason...
Would you?
No, I didn't. I didn't,
Would you?
and now I would. Now
Would
I would.
you?
Because now I would. Yes. Have I answered your question? Yes, now I would, and I advocate that everybody else do the same by any means necessary.
Stephen, common ground. You and I, two Americans, would both stop any politically violent attack on any public figure or speaker that we saw. You and I agree to that. And you and I hope, would both agree that we should condemn all political violence. End of story.
I am condemning, of course, all political violence. It is coming from one side, and the prescription is ruthless, aggressive, defensive, lawful violence on anyone who tries. If someone behaves in a way, for example, I've been sucker punched, I've been collar dragged, I've had attempts on my life, I have been doxxed. If anyone behaves in a way where if they behave that way at a town hall...
Oh, boo-hoo, you've been doxxed. We've all been doxxed. Jesus Christ. It's so crazy to me how people will, like, go to, oh, I've been doxxed. To be fair, okay, I also use that, but strategically, okay? But the thing is that, like, if you're somebody like Steven Crowder, you're a very public figure. You've been at this for years. Like, it is the norm to be doxxed. It's just like, fuck me, dude. Oh my god. Like, people, like a lot of people are just typically quiet about whatever. No, actually, nah, I shouldn't complain. Yeah, fuck it. I don't care anymore. It's just whatever. I don't care.
At a restaurant, you with your family would result in their severe ass beating. Ugh. They deserve it at a political rally. They deserve it at a private function and a public speaking engagement. And the right has not been...
Like, dude, the person who is advocating for violence is... The person who is advocating directly for violence is he's trying to appeal to the sympathy and trying to cry victim about him being doxxed. Like, he is trying to play victim while also simultaneously advocating for direct violence. If a moderate tells you that Steven Crowder is better than a leftist, better than a radical leftist, how the fuck are you supposed to convince that person? even if you disavow radical leftists, they'll just say something like, "Oh yeah, but Trump, but you don't understand. This is what the Democratic Party now is now. They're all radical lefties. I've seen it on Tim Pool."
Doing that because we've been taking the
Oh
high
my
road and the left has
God.
acted with impunity. That's why you
Give
see
me a
professors.
break.
It's not just that they're showing children a snuff film on repeat in order to create a generation of psychopaths, by the way. That's how you do it. It's that so many professors are doing it because they don't fear any ramifications. You can't find that on the right. Find me one example of a Charlie Kirk, not an elected official, a person who did nothing more than express his opinion and allow anyone else to do the same, who lost his life.
I also think in relation to that I saw Charlie Kirk's producer today getting quite emotional as he talked about the difference, for example, between the reaction to the murder of George Floyd, which I thought was despicable, and the murder of Charlie Kirk, which was despicable, is that one precipitated nationwide.
You know what, Piers? If you think that the murder of George Floyd was despicable, how about you point out to the fact that Steven Crowder made fun of George Floyd for years? How about that? Steven Crowder, the person who tried to replicate the whole, like, oh my God, someone's kneeling on my neck bit.
Rioting and lawlessness, as people were so enraged they took to the streets, and the other took to people going to church. You know,
also called me when Charlie Kirk died with a speed bump. He mugged a woman with his toddler in the house.
I thought it was an interesting.
George Floyd hurt people.
I thought it was an interesting observation, Joe, in terms of the difference.
No, and I appreciate that, Piers. Let me sneak in one more thing before Stephen goes off. Also, the assassination of Democratic Melissa Hortman in Minnesota by an anti-abortion Trump supporter, you didn't see violence after that. And the other thing you did not see after a, let me finish, Stephen, let me finish, brother.
The man who blamed Tim Walz.
That same person had like 46 other Democratic like politicians on that menu of people he wanted to kill, right?
Truth matters. Truth.
Like why the fuck do you say, oh, Tim Walz or whatever the fuck, when the person, there's nobody but Democrats on his fucking hit list. Just by the way. All right, for anyone who's trying to deflect this person away from blame or something.
Dishonesty foments violence, Joe.
After a Democrat was assassinated in Minnesota, you also did not see the Democratic Party and the left declaring a war on the right, saying that they did it, the evildoers did it. This is a battle between good and evil. You didn't hear any of that when a Democrat was assassinated. We should condemn both, Piers. Condemn anybody celebrating Charlie Kirk's murder. Condemn it. And we should also condemn anyone using Charlie Kirk's murder to call for declare some war.
God, this is such a good example. You have, so this person right here, okay, this person right here represents Salty, right? This person represents someone who like advocates for the prescription of condemning both and disavowing the radical left or something, right? Walsh, right? But then you have somebody over here who is just straight up someone who you try to convince, right? Like who do you think looks strong here? Sorry, not someone you try to convince, someone who's like solidly on the right, right? Who do you think looks stronger here? Serious question. Who do you think looks stronger here? Who looks stronger? Does Steven Crowder look stronger to the normies and the moderates? Or does Walsh look stronger to the normies and the moderates? I'll tell you the answer. Crowder looks to be the one stronger because he has more conviction.
On half of the country, and this is a battle between good and evil. Both of those reactions are dangerous and despicable.
Final word to Stephen. Stephen, final word to you.
Stephen, you got the final word.
Yeah, wrong. I think using Charlie Kirk is saying that he sold
Who
his soul to Trump before the bodies
yeah,
even cold.
moderate Crowder
I agree with
does,
Charlie Kirk's reaction to George Floyd because the media lied. Lies foment dishonesty. And I'm not calling for a civil war. I made it very clear I want the left to be able to continue to speak without security as they often do. I just want them to be deathly afraid to try what they've been doing with the right for a very long, forevermore going forward.
Like whenever Walsh like buries his his face into his hands, do you know what that looks like? That kind of looks like him trying to, like, not being able to stomach the truth that Steven Crowder is saying, right? Like, Steven Crowder is saying some harsh but true things, and then Walsh is, like, just not being able to take it. He's just burying his face into his hands, right? The average moderate looking at this will see this as Walsh not being able to contend with the truth that Crowder is saying, right? Like, that's the way that people see this. I'm sorry, but that's just how normies and moderates see this.
But if we talk about this, hey, there's one time that there weren't riots. Yeah, what about all the times that there were and they weren't registered as violent crime? Charlie Kirk didn't hurt anybody. George Floyd did. Charlie Kirk is very, very different from George Floyd. Dishonesty is what foments, I'll leave you with this, is what foments violence. And you know what? When you say war of good and evil, show me one time where the people who are actually evil are willing to paint a war of good and evil. Because you know what? If it ever comes to that, God forbid, maybe the people advocating for abortion up until and including birth and genital mutilation for children, including hiding them from their parents in the state of Minnesota, maybe they could look around at themselves and say, hey, if this is a war of good and evil, maybe we're the bad guys.
One more disavow. One more disavow.
Thank you both so very much. I appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Just fuck me, dude. Just fuck me in the ass. Jesus Christ. Kill me. Just end me. And end my life. Don Lemon responds to backlash from critics over his reaction to Kirk's death. Okay. Who's Don Lemon? Don Ronaldo Lemon Clark is an American television journalist, best known for being a host on CNN from 2014 until 2023. He anchored news or whatever. Okay, I don't know.
Kirk used new media to devastating effect in his mission to mobilize.
Can we swap out moderate and say retard? Sure.
Young people for his conservative movement. He understood the power of a viral moment to cut through a complex argument and the great appetite for proper debate. Just two of many things we all love about our digital culture. There's plenty of things many of us find repellent about it too. Witch hunts, vile smears we'd not dream of using in real life, and the business of saying things purely to generate attention through rage. Many prominent figures on the right have accused Don Lemon of doing exactly that this week, ironically, for making the very same claim about them.
The thing that is so obvious about it, and I think is so disgusting, is that you don't really care. You don't really care about Charlie Kirk. What you care is that this is a moment that you can use for clicks, to boost your podcast or your streaming show or your radio show or your television show or your news show or your MAGA bona fides with the MAGA group or your political stripes, that you can improve it, or you can have a moment where you're crying in front of the cameras. You gather all the reporters at the Capitol and you go, and it's your fault, and it's your fault, and it's the left and whatever.
Well, Don Lemon is, of course, a former CNN anchor.
Wait, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with that, like, fucking statement? Fuck me. What? Lemon's made some retarded lefty comments on race. He's also the one that interviewed Musk when Musk got super upset. Oh, shit. Okay.
Like me, who now hosts the Don Lemon Show, clips of which appear frequently in many popular podcasts. And he joins me now. Don,
I mean, he was just right there.
How are you?
So...
I'm doing very well. How are you? Good to see you, Piers.
We were both
introduction, but it's great to see you.
We were both greatly lamented ex-CNN anchors. In fact, we shared an office. You took my old office. So I feel like we've got a lot in history together. Your reaction to Charlie Kirk's murder has stirred up a lot of anger on people on the right, particularly the clip we just heard where you talk about them not really caring about what happened to him and just reacting for clicks, crying for clicks and so on. I've interviewed quite a few people who are on the conservative right who knew Charlie Kirk well. I've not detected any of that myself. I do think that they were genuinely, utterly horrified by what happened. Do you not think that what you said there was insensitive?
You're not grieving,
No, I don't.
right?
I'm surprised because I was actually taking up for Charlie Kirk. I was taking up for him as someone who died a horrible, untimely death, and that there are people who are out here trying to capitalize off of his death. I don't think it's that much different than what his friend, who is his confirmed friend, Candace Owens, is saying about folks who are using it for political and for career expediency. There are those who are doing it, and there are those who are not. And if you are not, then I don't think anyone who's not doing it took any offense to it. There's an old saying here in America: a hit dog will holler. So the folks who I felt a certain kind of way and that I touched with that statement or those statements, then perhaps they should take a look at themselves. And by the way, as you know, Piers, you've been a victim of this. Many of us have been a victim to this. You take a clip, you do a short clip that is out of context, and then you make it into something that you want it to be, rather than what I said. I don't see many people on the right at all of me running clips of me saying, I think, it was horrible what happened to Charlie Kirk. It should never have happened. I feel terrible for his wife and his kids. The kids are fatherless. She does not have a husband right now. I don't believe in political violence at all, whether it comes from the right or the left. No one played those clips. What they did was take someone like me that they can demonize. They feel that I'm on the left. As you know, Piers, we work together. I'm not on the left. I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a Republican. I'm not on the right either. I have my own mind, and I make up my mind, and I decide on issues based on what I believe in and based on facts, not a certain political ideology.
Well, look, I would say that you're clearly a lot more left than right, surely. I've never heard you espouse a conservative sentiment.
I am a lot more fact-based than I am anything. And so I don't believe you are free to think that I'm on the left. And perhaps in this time that we're in now with the Trump administration and with MAGA, perhaps facts are on the left. And if you deem that being on the left, then so be it. I don't see myself as being a political figure or a figure who's on the left.
It's interesting. It's interesting your characterization about facts, because I would argue that one of the reasons Trump got re-elected against all the odds, if you think about what happened after January 6th and everything else, the fact that he got re-elected, I always felt was three-pronged, right? One was immigration. I think Biden completely dropped the ball with immigration, particularly on the southern border. Second, the economy. And thirdly, the whole woke issue, the whole woke culture. And in particular, I would say, the issue, for example, of trans athletes in women's sport, which is, to me, if you're talking about facts, it is something that most Americans looked at and went, you know what, this is ridiculous. How can you deny biological reality? How can you go against scientific fact? So many would argue that it was the Democrats who lost track of facts and moved into a slightly strange, surreal place where they were trying to deny stuff, which most Americans went, well, that's ridiculous.
Yeah. Look, I would not qualify it the way that you're qualifying it. I do believe that you have a point about the Democratic Party not understanding the moment that we're in, that America's in right now. As far as trans athletes, I think that was, although I understand to certain people it is a big deal, it is such a minute, small percentage of the population, and the trans athletes that are actually in schools and that are competing in.
Like, do you see how Piers Morgan, the person who is more sympathetic to right-wing talking points, is the one that is creating the battle that they have to fight? Does that make sense? Do you see what's going on now? Do you see why trying to disavow constantly doesn't work? Because when you have Piers Morgan here right now, he literally illustrates this issue, right? So he says, now I don't know that much about him, right? But he says that he has disavowed the violence on Charlie Kirk. He has disavowed the assassination on Charlie Kirk, but people will only clip him, right? So he describes the issue. Piers Morgan ignores it. He won't even address that part. And Piers Morgan goes directly to labeling him as a left-leaning Democrat person, which, I mean, he could be, right? He could be. But the thing is that Piers Morgan then says transgender issues, blah, 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 right? All the right-wing talking points. And what do you think happens when someone who's trying to appeal to moderates and to Republicans begins to engage in that talking point? Because the reality is that after Piers has set the stage, this person right here, Don Lemon, okay, has now fully engaged in that talking point. Now he's talking about transgender issues, when in reality, what you should be talking about is Charlie Kirk. Why are you talking about transgender issues? Why are you talking about that? You should be talking about Charlie Kirk. This is the primary topic of the debate, right? Do you see how now, when you feel the need to respond to everything, you make a lolcow out of yourself? And now, when the moderate sees something like this, it just looks like you're being a cowardly, snivelly, little left-leaning Democrat, right? You look horrible in the eyes of a normie in front of a moderate, right? Piers Morgan looks like the alpha Giga Chad male here, right? The British Giga Chad, bullish guy, right? Yeah, I don't know. Like the thing is that that's just the reality of what this looks like to people. And yeah, I don't know. It's just when you're constantly on the defense and you're not attacking, you're fucked. You're fucked. Okay, which is why you shouldn't address. Do you know what would be a better move for Don Lemon to do? Don Lemon should have said, "Well, Piers, I don't believe that you've fully addressed my point over people clip chimping me. Piers, I don't think you fully addressed my point about the right clip chimping me. Can you please address that point first? And then I'll disavow whatever you want me to disavow. But first, you need to address the fact that, yeah, in fact, I do in fact disavow the assassination on Charlie Kirk. Will you recognize that reality? Because otherwise, I don't think I want to participate, right? Because right now he's being held up like a fucking gorilla at the zoo, right? This guy is being put on display for Piers and his audience, and for all the conservatives and moderates out there, right?
You know, in competitions, it's so minor. It affects so few Americans. I'm shocked that it was used to the level that it was in the election, and to great success. And so I must commend the Republicans on an issue that wasn't really an issue for most Americans, that they made it into something that helped to catapult this president into office. Now,
you see, I've heard a lot of Democrats using that argument. And I've said to them, one of the most effective. I'm not saying you're a Democrat. I'm just saying I've heard a lot of Democrats say it. And my argument to them has been, yeah, but the New York Times reported that the do you guys understand how infuriating it is for the right to set the narrative
and then for the left to play into it. Like, notice the dynamic that's happening here, okay? Piers Morgan sets the topic. So Don Lemon tries to set a topic. Piers Morgan ignores it. Piers sets a topic, and Don Lemon then addresses it. Like, fuck me,
the
dude.
they-them ad that
Get me
Trump put
out.
out, which gathered momentum and then became used more and more and more, was one of the
very
most
successful.
effective.
I think it was extremely successful.
It was one of the most successful
I agree.
modern political adverts because it cut.
And to be frank, and to be completely frank, if I may use my identity for once, because I don't usually use my identity, but I'll use my identity for once. Fuck it, you know? Because everybody else is using their self-identity to weaponize in politics, so I might as well do it too, okay? I'm sorry, but I'm not gonna wait until right-wingers fucking lynch me in the streets for being transgender and for putting every single possible effort into transitioning for this rhetoric to play out, right? Like, it's just insane to me. I'm sorry, I'm not going to wait until that moment. I have less of a time than versus people who are not transgender. I'm sorry. I have less of a time to save the rhetoric and to fix the double standards, or to try to help to save the double standards before my execution date, okay? Yeah.
To the point, I think, again, about common sense, that most Americans actually, you know, maybe they don't have it in their top 5 things they care about. I would absolutely accept that. But when you actually ask them, do you think this is fair? Do you think it's right? Do you think it's equal? Do you think it's good that women's rights would be eroded? They actually then do get quite exercised about it. Hello and welcome. We'll be giving some breaking news.
Well, okay, I don't...
Look, Piers, I'm not here to argue over trans rights. I don't think it necessarily cut to the argument of common sense. I think they simply found an issue.
Okay, so he's trying to revert back. Okay, good.
That they could capitalize on based on fear or, you know, some perceived religious value or what have you. So I'm not going to sit here and demonize trans people, trans women or trans men, because I just don't think that is fair and that is productive in this moment. I'm not going to go back and litigate why Donald Trump won and on the issue of trans. We simply disagree on that. I think it affects so few people. I think it was something that was blown out of proportion. And while there may be some people who are affected by it, and if they are, I'm sorry that happens. But happens. But I just don't think that was an issue that focuses.
So when
on
you see, for
common sense,
example, in the Paris Olympics, when you saw Imam Khalif, an Algerian boxer who had been banned from the World Championships for testing positive for male chromosomes.
Okay, sorry. Okay. So this is another classic tactic, right? Like, what they'll try to do is that they'll try to continue on this topic despite the fact that you try to downplay this tactic, right? If anything, right? Because the thing is that he's right. You should downplay how major this issue is. You should downplay how major this issue is, right? But the thing is that now you should start talking about Charlie Kirk. You should find some way to change the conversation or the topic at hand to Charlie Kirk, because here you have Piers, who has an automatic Republican talking point ready from the jump because he is well-versed in Republican talking points. Does that make sense? Because now he has to fight on the conspiracy. He is forced to fight on the conspiracy. He is forced to fight on misinformation mixed in with facts at the same time. And he has to be forced to disavow it, right? Like, notice, because I want people to zoom out. I really want people to zoom out here. I don't want people to just see the topics as they are. I don't want people to only judge this conversation based on the topics. I want people to judge this conversation on the dynamics that are at play, right? Like what is the game that is being played right now, right? Like, and why the guy on the right is failing, I guess, because it seems like so far he is, but yeah.
When you saw a young female Italian boxer quit after 40 seconds because she'd never been hit that hard and genuinely feared for her life, and Imam Khalif goes on to win gold medal at the Olympics, does that not ring an alarm bell for you, Don? I mean, do you not think that the reason we separate sexes in the Olympics is because males have an advantage? I mean, why would you not think that's important?
Do you want me to tell you the truth? Let me tell you about Piers. I'll tell you the truth about this. I heard about this story, but it's not something that I focus on. I'm not watching the Olympics like that. Maybe I'm different. I'm just not. I'm not that interested in watching everything. I like to watch the swimming. I like to watch the gymnasts. I'm not interested in boxing or any of that because I think it's a.
He's literally fighting on the hill where we have an 80-20 issue that isn't in our favor. Wouldn't it just be easier to say, I don't agree with that and move back to Charlie? Piers Morgan brought up Imam Khalif, right? What are you talking about? He brought up a complete fucking rage bait of a story to instigate rage on purpose and to ignore all reason. This is not an 80-20 issue. This is he's doing this on purpose in order to divert and make him look bad on purpose, right? I'm just telling it how it is. Piers Morgan wants to paint this guy on purpose as a crazy transgender denying whatever. What does he have to do? He has to disavow Imam Khalif now? Because the conversation is no longer just about transgender people in sports. The conversation is now about Imam Khalif.
Brutal sport anyway. So for me, it's just not that interesting. I'm sorry that anybody was hit that hard, but if you put yourself in the arena.
He's playing on Piers Morgan's food plate. Piers Morgan doesn't look half as pressed as he was when he was debating Destiny and dogpiling Destiny. Like, when Piers Morgan was debating Destiny, he looked pressed as fuck, okay? Why? Because Destiny wouldn't play into his tactics, right?
To be hit.
But notice how calm Piers looks here, right?
Hit and someone hits you hard, then whose fault is that?
Well, you expect to be hit by other women, not men.
Well, I don't know that. I don't know who she expected
when men
to be
hit
hit
women,
by.
we call it
I'm sure she saw. I'm sure whoever was in that competition understood who they were going into the ring with. And if you put yourself in that competition in the middle of a ring where punches are being thrown, then you can expect to get hit hard, whether it is a man or a woman. And that's all I have.
Okay, I'll give you an equivalent analogy. Okay, I'll give you an equivalent analogy. Okay, fuck. Dude, fuck me. Why does this keep happening?